Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Java tutorial series. Throughout my tutorials I'll teach you Java using just Notepad and the command prompt. The order in which my tutorials are organized on both my website at javacjava.com and my YouTube playlist is designed to maximize learning by building on concepts from prior tutorials. This is part 4 of my creating a thread tutorial. We'll call it mini-series there. Open up my web browser, javacjava.com, to my website, begin. I'll scroll all the way down here to creating a thread part 4. Now this tutorial will directly build on concepts and source code from my creating a thread part 3 tutorial. In this tutorial will demonstrate how to make a thread automatically start itself up when the object is created. In other words, I'll have the constructor create a new thread object passing itself as a runnable parameter and then invoking the start method. And I'll explain all that in the code in detail here. So let's come down here and highlight all the source code. Control-C to copy, or right-click and select copy. Move my browser off screen. Now, assuming you've watched my previous tutorials, I'm not going to go through all the creating a command prompt stuff this time here. So we're just going to do cd space backslash, make a directory called Java, change directories to the Java folder, make a directory called creating thread 4. Okay, let's change directories to that, and Notepad. Creating a thread 4.java. Alright, let's go ahead and Control V to paste that in, and let's come up here and save this. Okay, let's talk about the my calculations. Two classes in here, basically the creating a thread 4 and the my calculation. Of course, it implements Runnable, right? So what I've got here is I've modified this up just a little bit, right? And I've still got the number to factor, right, being passed in as the constructor parameter here. And then I've got this next statement here, right? And just think about this one for a little while here. We're creating a new thread object, right? And in the thread class, of course, as I demonstrated, in the other tutorials there, that we have this constructor that takes in a runnable object, right? So in the constructor for my calculations, right, I am creating a new thread object and I'm passing it this, which is this class, right? Specifically, this object, this instance of that, right? And because we implement Runnable here, this is of course a runnable object. And then we simply invoke the start method on this new thread object here, and that will in turn invoke our run method, okay? So that's the way that works. And then I put the isItPrime method right back into basically the my calculations class here, right? So, and that's all the same from previous tutorials there. So basically this little statement right here is the magic bullet here that makes all this just kind of automatically start up. Makes it nice and clean. So the whole class basically handles itself on starting itself here too as well. And you could probably understand if I hadn't done the other 3 tutorials and just walked you right into this, you'd be going, what? I don't even get what the heck just happened, you know what I mean? So that's why I did that there. So back up to the creating a thread 4 class in the main method entry point here. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new thread for the main thread, right? Which is the current thread. And then I'm going to display to the console calculating primes. Now I've moved my for loop here, and I'm basically going to be doing this large number and then 799 to 999. So, and of course stepping that up by 2. So it's approximately 100, it's 200 numbers, but we're going by 2 for only the odds. So approximately 100 numbers. We're going to check to see if they're prime. And then I'm just simply creating a new instance, new object, my calculations object. I'm not even bothering creating a reference variable or anything like that. And I'm passing just, of course, the long value of x that we want to factor out there, right? Number to factor. So this is nice and clean and beautiful here, if you ask me. This statement will go ahead and start up that thread, and all we have to do is just basically create a whole new object, right? So loop through that and get those started. Then I'll display to the console this string literal plus the thread active count. Now the funny thing is some of these threads that are I'm starting up here, right, will actually have completed before this line of code even hits right here. So, and that's kind of neat. You'll see that in the thing there. So, and spinner. I changed my animation a little bit, which is basically just going to be calculating. It'll basically look like a blinking little calculating thing there, but don't worry about that. That's all just another cheesy animation here. So let's go ahead and come up here and save this. Let's clear our screen, let's compile it, and let's run it. See my cheesy little animation down here is just calculating, boom, 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 boom. Then we'll scroll up here in a second once this is all done here. Okay, so in that range it found 4 prime numbers, so that's interesting there. So it listed all of the primes. Now let's scroll back up to the top right there. So here's calculating primes. That is displayed right there. Then we go into this for loop, and then we have the total number of active threads. So you can see total number of active threads is right down here, right? So quite a few threads finished before that line of code even hit there. Especially these ones where it's only getting up to like divisible by 3 and 7 and 5 and whatever, right? You know, so. And then finally, this line of code hit here, right? And then we go into our loop here, right? So the calculating is basically sleeping for about a third of a second there, a little less than that, and then 300 milliseconds to be precise. So you can see a lot of these other threads finished before calculating was even displayed there, right? And of course, so this number right here is something like, what, 335 million, and this is 500 million, right? So it did a lot of calculations here, so that's why it took a long time there. And then of course the primes, you know, it had to go through way more calculations even than that. So that's kind of interesting how that all works there. But anyway, so the primary purpose of this tutorial here was to show you how to create a class as specifically for a thread, for becoming a new child thread, and then just basically invoking itself right here. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that off screen, and I really don't have any final thoughts on this one, but that concludes this tutorial. Thanks for watching.